Yes, Commissioner. Perhaps maybe I must pause to mention something that perhaps I did not include on my statement, that upon receipt of this WhatsApp message with a letter, the first point of contact was to engage the Chief of Staff at the Minister's office, Mr. Nkabinde. He's a well-known individual to me. I personally called him, understanding that there can never be any letter signed by the minister that does not pass his desk, or at least pass his hand. So I asked about it, whether is he aware, or maybe it's just a fake letter that is created by someone and is circulating. So I asked him if he's aware of such a letter that is disestablishing the team. And his response was yes, he is aware of the letter. In actual fact, his words were, the letter has been going back and forth. Someone crafting it, sending it to the minister, has been corrected. Eventually, it was put under pressure to dispatch it to the Office of the National Commissioner. So the letter, as I saw it, it's a correct letter that was signed by the Minister of Police. So from there, because it was unofficial when I was talking to him when he gave me the response, I then felt at the time what had confused me the most, Commissioner, is because I will expect, obviously, the letters addressed to the National Commissioner, that the National Commissioner will communicate with me about this. I took an opportunity to call him. The National Commissioner must indicate, Commissioner, that he was on leave at the time when I received this letter, when I saw this letter. He was on vacation leave. I cannot remember exact date. It could have been a Tuesday, but it was during the week when this letter came out. A weekend prior to that, which was a Saturday, the National Commissioner and the Minister of Police had visited KwaZulu-Natal province to come and support us as we were mourning the death of one of our colleagues. So there was a funeral that was took place at the era of Mpangeni in KwaZulu-Natal. It's a Saturday. And when the funeral ended, the minister, in his own words, was that he's going to rest in the province, he's going to be around the province, so I must be aware of that. And the National Commissioner was going to be starting his leave on Monday, so we all went separate ways. National Commissioner traveled to Pretoria that Saturday evening, and the minister will have gone to his residence in KwaZulu-Natal. It's a Saturday. Sunday goes by, the Monday, I cannot remember the date, but 2 or 3 days later, the letter surfaced. So the National Commission has just taken leave. So that's what troubled me, because I find it odd that you cannot have a National Commissioner or the minister writing a letter to the National Commissioner that has got such content and these allegations if the minister had not discussed this with the National Commissioner somewhere before. Perhaps it's just formalizing the communication that he had with the National Commissioner. That's why then I took a decision to contact the National Commission to try and establish from him whether is he aware about this letter, has he been told about this disestablishment. And the National Commissioner's response was that he is on leave, which his leave is going to end on the 14th of January, and he hasn't had an opportunity to consider the content of the letter. But he had nothing to do with the disbandment of this political killings task team. And he also informed me that the Minister of Police has never sought his advice before taking this decision. So I also advised him that I also had not been engaged about the decision of the minister. So that is the first engagement I had with the National Commissioner as he was on leave.
He was still on leave at the time you had that engagement?
That is correct.
Before then we discuss what you did next, can I go back to an issue you raised and you said it's not part of your statement, and that relates to your contact with the chief of staff in the minister's office. And if I recall correctly, you said the chief of staff informed you that the letter was going to and fro. I think those are the words you used. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
What do you know between who that letter was going to and fro?
Commissioners, I did not ask him who are these back and forth, but my conclusion was that the drafters of the letter were on the other side of the country.
Country, you said?
The other side of the country, because the minister was in KwaZulu-Natal.
Okay.
So the drafters would have been elsewhere, not together with the minister. And the correspondence will have gone to the chief of staff, who then directed to the minister. And perhaps the minister will not be happy with some content and will bring it back to the chief of staff, and the chief of staff will send it to the drafters. That's why the back and forth statement come from. That is my assumption. Okay. And eventually, after the signature was placed on the document, then the chief of staff was, on his own words, pressured to make sure that the National Commissioner's Office receives and acknowledge the receipt on the letter on the day. So he never told me who pressured him to do that. So I guess the investigation will be able to discover where did the letter originate from before the minister signs it.
The pressure was on the chief of staff.
That is correct, Commissioner, according to his own words.
Over what period, if you know, was the minister in KZN? I know from the time of the funeral. When was the funeral? And do you know up to what point?
I do not know the duration that the minister was in KZN for, but actually I don't even know when he arrived in KZN, but the funeral was on the Saturday, which was the last Saturday of December. The funeral was on that Saturday in KwaZulu-Natal, and on the 2nd is when this letter was signed. And when we separated on the day of the funeral, the minister told me that he's going to be in the province. So whether he had left the province maybe between the funeral day and the date of the letter, I do not know.
Thank you, General.
Thank you, Chair.
Tempted to speak to the President.
No, unfortunately, I did not receive a report back. I do not know what was engagement. It is for that reason, Commissioner, that without receiving that, I personally reached out to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee as an oversight body to the police work, because I realize it looks like every door I'm knocking, nothing is happening. National Commissioner, please speak to the minister, it's not happening. National Commissioner, check with the president, I'm not getting a feedback. And the next body that I must engage is an oversight body, which is Parliament. I then contacted the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Cameron, myself. I requested him to invite me to the Portfolio Committee. Ordinarily, I was not supposed to be part of the Portfolio Committee. But through my request, he invited me to be part of the Portfolio Committee. It is that Portfolio Committee where I was able to then express my feelings about this decision in the presence of both the National Commissioner and the Minister. But even that effort failed. Nothing happened as a result. So those are all the efforts that I did.
Thank you, Ms. Silla.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now, and I did qualify that that is your conclusion, and in this paragraph at least, you don't substantiate that conclusion or provide a basis for that conclusion. My question to you is, do you personally have any evidence, or is there anyone within the investigative arm or involved in the investigations who would be able to adduce sufficient evidence to at least support the conclusion you have drawn? Do you know of the existence of such evidence?
Commissioners, I am aware of the evidence that was extracted as the team in Gauteng were investigating, which made me reach the conclusion that indeed this is what made someone to influence the minister to close it, because the the evidence that we're going to present later by someone who's going to come before this commission who were part of this Gauteng investigation, they uncovered that communication within the syndicates was making a reference to the team, not being understanding that what is happening in Gauteng is for Gauteng, is not for KZN.
You say communication between the syndicate, but you are not implying that that communication extended to the minister, are you?
To some degree, the associates, as I referred to here on this paragraph, are associates of the minister. And the very same associate does show communication that seems to suggest that the minister is fully involved in the decision that this syndicate is taking.
Do you accept the responsibility on your part to substantiate fully, not necessarily today, but in the fullness of time, the conclusions you have drawn in that paragraph?
Yes, Commissioners, evidence is there on the record, although some of it will perhaps require to be covered in camera, but the evidence is there that will support my conclusion on this. The individuals, the colleagues, as I said earlier, my July briefing was a collective effort, men and women who are part of the investigation in Gauteng, who knows and they've gathered evidence to support the allegations that we ended up making. And they are going to come before this commission and they're going to present that evidence. We will be able, under oath, to confirm that indeed that is evidence that we've collected. And we have no reason not to believe that it is the real evidence that proves the linkages between the syndicates and the minister himself.
137. You basically deal with the experience of the task team, the efforts of the task team, the reports continuously made by the task team in challenging the conclusion arrived at by the minister in his letter of the 31st. You see that? Would you like to briefly touch on the issues that you raise in those paragraphs?
Commissioner, referring to paragraph 129.
I'm referring to from paragraph 129, where you engage now with the letter, and you stated in the letter, I quote, the minister claims that his observation is that the existence of this team is no longer required. I do not know what facts support the minister's conclusion. I deny the correctness of the minister's conclusion and aver that they are wholly baseless. That's what you stated 129. In succeeding paragraphs, you then engage with the basis for why you disagree with the minister's conclusion. And that's what I would like you to summarize for the benefit of the commission. And that should take you to 137, paragraph 137.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. As I indicated earlier, that this political killings task team is one of many task teams that are running in the country. So for the minister to isolate the political killing task team alone raises question. And for the conclusion that the minister says that the team does not add any value, the value of the police is to prevent crime, to investigate crime, and bring the perpetrators thereof to justice. And this team has demonstrated that. So I did not understand the value the minister was referring to. Whether it was privy to the success, the achievement of the team or not, it's something perhaps the commission will be able to bring, because to date I've never had an opportunity to ask him. These are questions I wanted to ask him, and I never had an opportunity to ask. So therefore it could not be justified that the team, with these stats that it has, that it can just be classified as a team that does not add value in the work of the police in the country. And as I said, commissioners, that this team, through their success rate, they were even given a task that went beyond the scope of the work on their inception, and they were tasked to go and work in the Eastern Cape, and they were given the responsibility to investigate cases of traditional leaderships and the likes. So it cannot be then correct for the minister to say a team that is recognized, and it's the only one that has been recognized like this in the country, for such a team to simply make an allegation that it does not add value, it's wrong. In all front, that's why I disagree with what the minister said. It is simply inconceivable that the entire operational management of the SAPS, under the leadership of the National Commissioner, who will see the value of this team and the efforts, the dedication, the times that these members, officers have spent away from home for years in order to assist in dealing with the reduction of our leaders of our country, the matters of our leaders of our country, that it is therefore seen by a minister as not adding value. So the sacrifice of these police officers, the recognition that the National Commissioner has made over these members, the support and the appreciation that the Inter-Ministerial Committee has expressed, including the President himself, when he was briefed about the work of this team, and he expressed it, Commissioners, not only to the IMC at one stage, he spoke directly to the investigator, to the members themselves, where he said, you are doing a good job, when he was briefed. So for all that, for the minister to come and say it doesn't add any value when everyone else is recognizing, was very bizarre, to say the least. We, as a standard practice that I'll do from time to time in the province, commissioners will be to conduct an oversight on different functions that are performed in a province. And it so happened from time to time that we do what we refer to in the province as a case flow management session. And this is where we receive presentation, I receive presentation together with my deputies on different investigations that are running in the province in order to see performance of the investigation team, assess challenges that the team has, so you can support in areas where we need to support. During the session that was held in May, I came to learn that these 121 case dockets had been moved to Pretoria. And that briefing was given to me by a member that was in charge of this political killings task team at the time in KZN, Colonel Matlo, who advised me that when they moved this docket, it was as instruction of Jara Kumalo, who was a project manager of the political killings task team. That's when I became aware, May 2025.
May 2025. What did you do, if anything, upon learning?
It would have been easier, Commissioner, for me to pick up a phone and call Jara Kumalo because I'm in constant communication with him. But since, in my eyes, this was violating the law, I felt it's important to start putting things formally. So I wrote to Jara Kumalo, inquiring about these directives that he has issued. I was asking him about the status of these dockets because the team had presented to me that through his instruction, the dockets were taken to the head office.
And the letter you reference is at MK11, you refer to it, paragraph 138 of your affidavit, of your statement rather, my apologies.
That is correct.
And that annexure, MK11, appears from pages 192, Commissioners. If you could turn to the letter, General. Is that the letter?
That is correct. That is the letter that I wrote to Jara Kumalo, inquiring about these dockets.
Now, it is clear from a reading of that letter that you made the inquiry to General Kumalo in the terms that you expressed yourself, but neither your statement nor your annexures say anything about whether or not you received a response from General Khumalo on these issues, did you?
Yeah, well, General Khumalo did indicate to me that he had received instruction which led him to hand over these dockets to the head office. And that instruction came from the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, Jairus Bia, whom, according to the correspondence that was sent to Khumalo, it was not written to me, it was written to Khumalo, instructing Khumalo to bring the dockets, that the Jairus Bia was acting under instruction of the minister on a letter of 31st that was disbanding the team.
Now, do you know whether or not the demand of the transfer of the dockets to Pretoria was with the knowledge, concurrence, and support of the National Commissioner? Do you know that as a fact at all?
Before that, how did Lieutenant General Khumalo convey what you've just said to you? Was it orally?
To your knowledge, did any of the 121 dockets contain any detail regarding investigations or generally the work of the Gauteng counterintelligence in the Gauteng counterintelligence operations? Did any of those dockets refer, could be parallel to, based on the description, the explanation you gave us earlier, to any of the work of the Gauteng counterintelligence operations?
Commissioners, the directive from Jairus Bia was talking about the deactivation of the political killings task team. The case docket of the political killings task team was situated in KwaZulu-Natal, and they were not part of the Gauteng counterintelligence ops. So the GCI ops dockets were kept separately from those that were brought from KZN.
Okay.
So I don't think there was any mixture whatsoever.
Now, in last question then, and perhaps very briefly, your paragraph 141 and 142, you speak of an analysis conducted on those dockets upon their return, and you draw certain conclusions as to what happened to those dockets in the intervening period. We'd like to summarize that, and that will be the last question for the day.
Commissioners, although this matter came to the public through the media briefing the National Commission had, again, thanking the media for bring this matter to the attention of the entire citizens, that when the media made an inquiry to the National Commissioner, the National Commissioner already directed a week prior to that for the dockets to be taken back to KZN. And we had since convened with the acting divisional commissioner of detective service at the time, and we agreed together with General Khumalo of how we're going to deal with these dockets that are sitting in Pretoria before they come to KZN, be mindful of a possibility that the commission might want to have a look at those dockets. So our agreement was that we are going to have these dockets audit conducted, page by page in each docket, to confirm that which was handed over at the head office, whether it is still intact as it's coming back. As the directive of the National Commission, it was explicit that the copies of those dockets must be made and kept at the head office. So the team had to then make photocopies, scan those dockets, and sign off on each and every document that is inside the docket, and conduct inspection on the docket to see whether has there been any investigation conducted, meaning the very same team, political killings task team, that came to hand over the dockets after driving from KZN and bringing them here, they came here to come and conduct an inspection on this docket to see the status, whether there is any entry that is made on these dockets from the time they were handed over. They did find few of them, maybe a small percentage, I will not give the exact percentage now, but few of them, there were some entries that were made in those dockets. From the investigation team, from the head office, they said they were instructed to conduct inspection on the docket. As they were conducting those inspections, they had made some entries that they had confirmed, some of them, that the investigation is complete. They're supposed to be arrested, but because they're not empowered to do that, they are not investigating officers, they didn't do anything about it. They just confirmed that on paper, and they left it there on the docket. I think only one of the dockets of the Eastern Cape where a contact was made with the victims in that case, but that was just about only thing that was ever done. Contact made with the victim to tell them that we are having this case, we're investigating this case, together with the officials in Eastern Cape who were part of the initial investigation. They were also contacted by this head office team, and the entry was made on that case docket.